the bottom left, represented by Legacy. Still, after all this time, a great brand here in Australia. This is Probe.
And his opponent in the top right-hand side, representing Litecoin Gaming, it is MeomaikA.
So Litecoin Gaming, a brand new team, only a few weeks old, but they've picked up Drogo, Shadone, Hellraiser, and a few other players as well. So it's a team that's already kind of stacked, especially on the Protoss side of things.
I think it was like, what, Milky Cow as well from Russia?
Yeah, Milky Cow, exactly.
An up-and-comer. Started to have some really good performances. Really needs to change that ID. That's one of the few ID changes I get behind.
I actually remember voting for him in Nation Wars, back when you could vote in players, specifically because of their name. Yeah. There are a few players that I voted in just because their pictures were hilarious and their names were funny. So, yeah. But yeah, a bit of scout there from Probe, seeing that there was a pull first from MeomaikA. So very important to do that. Still no fear, though. Going to get the Nexus before the Cybercore.
That's interesting. Meo, it's going to build 4 Zerglings. I do believe it'll be back to Overlords and Drones after that, though. And indeed it is. So Probe here is comfortable, you know, not playing overly safe, not going for the quick Cybercore or anything like that. And glad to see we've got the cameras of both players. We can see the intensity on Probe's face, and for once we get to look into the eyes of the madman live while he's playing. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't get the Meo cam last few seasons. That's cool to see. Looking sharp and shiny. So Ling pressure coming in from MeomaikA with that pull first, going to get some value out of it. Probe, again, like delaying the Cybercore a little bit. I think most people, when they see a pull first, they're going to go Cybercore, then Nexus, just to get a little bit quicker access to that Adept. But Probe, no fear. I guess he's confident in his Probe micro.
Yeah, the Adept. I mean, that pylon could go down if he doesn't pull probes.
That's a late pull, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely looking like it's going to go down. And nice Ling micro pulls back the weak one.
I mean, the Adept comes out, though, so it's not that bad. You know, the D-Power obviously stings because he doesn't have access to that second Adept, but the first Adept is kind of all he needs because right now MeomaikA is droning.
Ooh, getting a probe as well. I mean, this is just 4 Zerglings, remember, with a pull first. Getting a pylon alone is huge. Called 4 probe transfer for Maynard, some would call it.
Who's that
interestingly, it's weird that the Overlord didn't continue into the base, but I think because Warpgate wasn't started, he already knew that it was Stargate. So, and then of course he got in with the Lings as well. So I guess just send both Overlords straight home. So many people are going to build Void Rays at some point. Does make sense. Immediate lair. My God, that's a quick lair for Meo. Are we going to see a Nidus?
It is quite early here, and I'm looking, you know, the main thing I'm looking at when I see a fast layer like this is how many gases is the Zerg taking. That kind of opens up the possibilities. Right now, it is just going to be the 2. He's got the 1, so it does feel Nidus-y, doesn't it? You know, a little bit of gas, you can definitely afford the Worm from down under, and then fill that thing up with units, but it doesn't seem super clear that that's going to be the plays from MeomaikA, though. Right,
it's Meo, you never know. It's like, just drops a Hydroden. He's building spores, so he's going to try and just make sure he doesn't take any damage. And I think he just doesn't want to build lots of queens by the looks of it. So he's just kind of saying, hey, let's go straight up to either Hydroden or Spire. I'm thinking Hydroden. It definitely is his favorite unit in the game, I think, the Hydra.
Well, the Oracle shows up and gets a laser off, but doesn't accumulate too much damage. Does get a bit of a scout off as well. Sees that the lair is done for Meo, which is a lovely bit of information for Probe, but it's actually just a really fast Hydroden from Meo. A really fast Hydroden. Something that you actually don't see a ton of in ZVP at the moment. It's mainly about like Roach Ravager or you know, going into Hydras a little bit later. This is a super early one. This kind of speaks to MeomaikA from a couple of years back.
Yeah, I mean, he's a player who will make like 6 Hydras and like pretend he's attacking and then just build 20 drones and then or 40 drones and then swarm you with Hydras like 4 minutes later, or he will build nothing but Hydras and Zerglings and just go off 40 drones. You really never know what you're going to get with him. For now, he is droning on up. His Ling's just doing double Stargate play. So we're most likely going to end up with Void Rays and batteries and cannons up against the Hydras.
Wow.
Ooh, he sees the Hydrogen, immediate Robo Forge. That tells us cannons and disruptors are the immediate priority.
And this really is old school MeomaikA, man. He's going straight for muscular augments as well. Most players, when they get the Hydras, they want to go groove spines first for defense because the Hydras are usually quite good on creep defensively. But I think Meo wants to get in the face of the Protoss very fast with these Hydras. And I think that's the whole plan here. And Probe sees the Hydras with the Oracle as well. So, I mean, he's super composed. He seems super chill at the moment. Happy with his defenses and his layup. And yeah, you're quite right. He's going to have access to cannons, shield batteries, of course. Going to go down here at the third and the natural to bolster those defenses. Cannon number 1 coming down here for Probe. Extra shield batteries. I love this spread out of pylons that Protoss do on this map as well. Connecting the natural and the third with static defense.
Meo just cancelled something. I'm not
sure
what that
chamber.
was exactly.
It was an Evo chamber.
Evo.
Yeah.
So he's. I think Meo is just trying to be unpredictable right now, but it doesn't really seem. I don't know if it has a rhyme and a reason. Because every time he's been scouted, his Hydra and then his Hydras, he's added more drones, he added the Evo chamber. He's going to move out now, and he's massing Queens behind this and more Hydras. He's got Groove Spines in the way. It looks like he's going to commit to an attack, but, I mean, Probe is looking so ready.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like it's going to work on paper, right? Like, I know that Jagannatha's got these speedy zones in the middle of the map, which help things, but as far as the Queens getting down here, like, when they get down here, are there going to be any Hydras left? The shield batteries and the void rays themselves could hold this, I feel, but there is a spire from MeomaikA. So again, like Mr. Tech Shift Bingo here, going to try and teching directly into a counter against the, what the Protoss is going for, which is a bit of a ground pound along with the void rays. The disruptors, like you mentioned, were almost certainly the plan here from Probe as the robotics base gets started.
But Probe's been up in workers all game long, and he is building better long-term units. So as long as he can get some sort of follow-up scout and not, be completely surprised by mutas, I think he'll be okay. Now, Meo is getting up to 71 workers. He's droning a 4th, so he will get to that next stage of the game. But, yeah, definitely, I think it's not too bad being on Void Ray Disruptor. He's building a lot of cannons and batteries, though, that won't help him secure a 4th. So I think the best way to convert this to an advantage for Meo is definitely do not commit in here. He's threatening really well. He's forced a ton of static defense. And if he can just kind of keep Probe off a 4th base while going to a bit of a later stage, that definitely could work out.
I think one of the downsides for Meo, though, is what do you do with the Spire? So he is going to commit to, he's getting +1 attack. And if he goes into mutas here or something like that, it's really easy as a Protoss with multiple Stargates, which is part of the reason why multiple Stargate builds are so popular, to react to Spire and to get Phoenixes. Like, Phoenixes build so insanely quickly, especially with Chrono Boosts. And if you've got multiple Stargates, the third one on the way now for Probe, you can kind of like see mutas take Probe damage, but the next time the mutas show up, they have just as many Phoenixes as mutas in the sky, and all of a sudden they're not as useful.
Well, there's been a lot of hallucination sniping going down, so Probe's very blind. He's desperate for information right now. He's going to catch these Queens out here on the left side, and he's trying to get 2 Adepts across the right side of the map, using the Disruptors to zone out those Hydras very well. Does take out a Queen there as well, but the Hydra's keeping him off the 4th base, and most importantly, just keeping him distracted, because there's 15.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 15 mutas definitely is a lot, and that is extremely scary, potentially game-ending. So if those 15 mutas just pounce on the army of Probe, they are going to just hopefully take them all down. Oh, there we go. The Adept Shade seeing the Mutalisks. 3 Phoenixes starting immediately here for Probe, and he's actually seeing the mutas on Meo's side of the map. So this is what I'm talking about. This is time now for Probe to get that Phoenix Ball up.
Yeah, and you've already got so many Void Rays, so he can't swap into Corruptors here. It would be an absolute disaster, and he's building Corruptors. No. That's not going to work at all. Meo, I mean, you were saying Tech Shift Bingo, but now he's just basically maxing out on a really bad composition of Hydra, Muta, Corruptor. There's so much cannon spread. If he can't deny that 4th base really soon, I mean, Probe, he's lagging behind in supply, but that's because he's building good units. Disruptors hard counter Hydras, Void Rays hard counter Corruptors, and his Phoenix count, he's already got 3, I think maybe even 6 out by now. He's got the range upgrade on the way. Like, this is actually, it's just going to be an absolute crushing when this fight happens.
Yeah, and he's got +1 ship weapons, +2 on the way. Oh, in come the Novas, and the Hydras just disappear. In come the Mutas, but then the Phoenix is coming from the left side. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, Meo just showed up to a meat grinder of laser beams and lost most of his units there for no value.
I mean, I think this all comes back to the opening, going for that lair and the Hydra Den so fast, but it was just always behind in workers. Probe hit the economy really well in terms of just hitting up his probes, and now he's built a great composition to deal with this. I mean, he definitely feels like trying to finish the game off. Is this maybe an overextension?
Yeah.
Only Mutacorruptor Zergling on the way for Meo. I almost want him to swap back to Hydras, but with Disruptors out, I get why he doesn't.
Yeah, it feels like he's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. He's making another lair right now. I'm not sure if he wants to be doing that. I'm not sure what the point of that is, but maybe a misclick as it gets cancelled from the production tab. Feels like Probe is making Mio really sweat here after that engagement. Obviously, it went super far in the Protoss' favor. And I feel like, that it's the right choice right now for Probe to disengage, keeping these Phoenixes on this side of the board because they can just disengage and survive without taking any damage from these slower units. And the Mutas are not going to chase those down, that's for sure.
Yeah, Probe's just too ahead at this point. There is no real play for Mio unless he knows how to use spellcasters really well from here, because Probe's going to be going to an endgame sort of composition in a little while. I mean, I guess he's not building carriers yet. I think if he builds carriers, it's a 100% game over for Mio. Mio's going to try and fight this out with Muta Corruptor. Corruptors do well versus the Phoenix.
They
Just
do.
if the Void Rays are there, that's where things go bad.
Indeed, and Probe actually flying through the Mutalisks a little bit there, so he loses another 2 or 3 Phoenixes. That's damage at least to the air fleet of Probe. A big Ling flood over here to the 4th base where there are overcharged shield batteries, so that cannon's not going to go down, giving Probe time to get those Zealots over here. Charge is actually a long ways off, so these Zealots are much better just sort of hanging by the static defense or engaging these Lings directly. Nova's fire out there, and the Novas are actually accelerated by the acceleration zone too, but those Lings just flood on top of that Disruptor and take it down. Mio's melee army is quite large here, but really doesn't want to fight on top of prismatically aligned Void Rays and shield batteries.
Yeah, Zealot Cannon Battery does really well against Zerglings. It is just Lings and Mutas in production. I mean, as long as Probe keeps up that Phoenix production, which he is right now, the only way he can get taken out here is if he just at some point starts thinking too far ahead. As long as he stays in the here and now, I mean, how do you break this Cannon Battery 4-base setup? You're not going to do it, and Mio's adding +1 range on the way, but definitely, I want to see... You know, looking at this, Mio's built a giant economy. It just feels like he's not really killed much of Probes at any point.
Yeah, he's like done damage. He's obviously picked off a few air units here and there. A couple of units have died, but he just looks so tier 2 focused. Like he's so he's put all of his eggs into this Spire working up for him. He's still investing in Spire upgrades, by the way. He's like, I'm just going to keep making air units this game, but without Hive, like you mentioned. And without an Infestation Pit even, he just doesn't have Spellcasters. The things that are going to win him a fight against an army like Probes. Ooh.
Oh, man. The Zealots are just going to mince that army. And the Corruptors have to run away. Disruptor even zoning out Zerglings there. The Void Rays are going to push back that air army. The Phoenix just destroy the Mutas so fast.
They certainly do. +2 attack Phoenixes. The Void Rays are getting thinned out a little bit there with a priority target there for MeomaikA, but now he's got a small problem of 1,000 charge lots at his 4th hatchery, and he's got a tap there. GG. Probe takes game number 1 relatively convincingly there against the Vietnamese Zerg MeomaikA. And yeah, I mean, with the best of 3 format, just needs to be one more win here for Probe to move on to the winners match.
Absolutely. I think that was a really clean game there from Probe. I like that he just very confidently opened up, and I do think Mio is going to need to disrupt him earlier. You know, I think you can't let Probe just play his opening that smooth. I think definitely hatch blocks, you know, going for 12 pools. Anything to disrupt the early game for Probe, it's going to give you a much better shot. We saw Mighty Kiwi with the triple 12 pool, of course, taking out Probe last season, and you know, I don't think just 12 pool every game, but definitely things like hatch block, you know, pool first hatch block, try to squeeze out quick third hatchery behind a 12 pool, all give you a good chance. It's just Hydra's going quick like that. It could have worked out, but I think the moment the Mutas got spotted by those 2 Adepts, like that was just like, oh, there's no way this is going to work. Now, the way that would have worked is if he got over there, killed a bunch of Probes, and then was already swapping back into Hydras while Probe was building the Phoenix. But if you let him have the answers ready at every moment, the Zealots were ready for the Zerglings, the Disruptors ready for the Hydras early, the Void Rays were ready for the Corruptors, the Phoenix were ready for the Mutas, Protoss has the better unit set. Unless you're using Spellcasters and Hive Tech, Protoss has the hard counter to the units. Their weakness is they take a long time to build. You got to build them one at a time. So it can drop a Spire, build 20 Mutas at once. So if the Zerg is playing this sort of slower game, it's their job to always surprise the Protoss, and Mio just wasn't able to do that.
A lot of MeomaikA's strategies and a lot of his tournament games especially really do rely on early to mid-game damage. So it feels like if his strategy kind of gets off to a wonky start, he's already kind of shot himself in the foot because he never really seems to be late game focused, especially that game. There was no sign of any intention of him going into Hive. And then Infestation Pit was probably unbound. from his hotkeys, as far as I'm concerned. But you know, that is our first game in the books, guys. We'll take a short break. When we return, game 2 of Probe MeomaikA. Don't go away. We'll see you then. G'day, StarCraft fans. Welcome back. We are in the midst of our first series of the tournament. In fact, the first series of the entire season, Pig. It all begins here with the Oceania Rest of Asia Masters event. I am Maynard. With me is Piggly Wiggly. We've cast a few StarCraft games before, and we'll be having a few more casts ahead of us still. And at the moment, Probe is leading 1-0 against MeomaikA. Meo, just to summarize that last strategy, I think tried to throw something at the wall, something a little bit MeomaikA-esque, something that he's definitely done before, and it definitely did not stick.
The Hydras did not intimidate. They tried to kind of beat their chest and go, "Hear me!" And Probe just kind of went, no, I'll keep building Void Rays, add a few disruptors and cannons. slowly walk over to the 4th base. And I think for Meo there, needed to be a little bit more decisive one way or the other. I think once he got scouted what he was doing, he kind of built a few drones, then went back to building Hydras, was about to move out, it got scouted, and he was like, well, okay, I'll build a few more drones and an Evo chamber. About to move out. Oh, it got scouted. I guess I'll build more drones and a queen. It felt like he kept kind of hesitating a little bit on that first push across the map. But I mean, shout out to Probe for just being kind of very confident and solid in the opening stage. I would love to see Meo throw out a disruption and disruptive strategy. You know, definitely keep Probe guessing. Doesn't have to be overly committed at all, but we're seeing even in the top level of play, Dark, for instance, has been bringing out more of these hatch blocks to really mess with the opponent's build. We've seen from players like Bly, the 12 pool plus hatchery to kind of mess up their wall off, which is a really good way of forcing the Protoss to really hem themselves in on one base. And I just think that they're builds that Meo would absolutely excel at. So let's see what he's got in store for us down here in the bottom right-hand side. The red Zerg player representing Litecoin Gaming. It's MeomaikA.
And on the far left, with a quick probe across that map after the first pylon for a hatch block, this is our boy from Legacy. It's Probe. Wow, we called this one, huh?
No surprises, and Probe picked this map like you said. He's a very clear plan on how to deal with that. Now, I feel like hatch first on the gold is very difficult to defend. So it's almost certain that Probe will send two Adepts over. yeah. Just to confirm, the question is, does he go Cybercore before Nexus to like rush two Adepts across the map? Or does he... No, he's just going to go the Nexus. Okay, cool. So I think what's interesting is Meo's a guy who'll just put his queens or even a spine crawler up and just try to pull the drones back. Because what's going to happen is the Adepts are going to run up behind the minerals on the gold base and basically just hit the drones, right? Meo's Ling speed's going to be much later after that. Behind it, I don't think Probe's going to overcommit to trying to punish this. I think it'll be two early Adepts and otherwise just a bit of chill. Maybe sneak two more Adepts a little later if he can across the map. And I think he's kind of just wanting to bait Meo into massively overbuilding Zerglings to defend it.
Yep, it is something that he's done before and may do again here on Blackburn as Probe confirms that Meo has not dropped his third hatchery just yet. There's that drone transfer. Of course, Meo going to go over to the saturate the gold base immediately here. Don't want to just wait for drones to pop out of that lava, and that's where you get your gold mining from. Otherwise, might as well not taken that hatchery. And Probe sees the transfer, so yep, just going to start up these Adepts, assuming the second gateway is probably going to be the call here from Probe, just to make sure he's got the production for it. But he might even just go straight into Stargate. Yeah, there it is. Stargate starts now for Probe, as he is delaying Warp Gate.
It looks like it's going to be that tech that he's confident in here. And after that previous game, why not? He showed he was very, very powerful in how he used it. First Adept, of course, shading across the map. A few more Zerglings already starting up. 6 Zerglings on the way. And keep our eyes on that production tab, of course. 8 Zerglings. Well, Meo definitely needs to build an Overlord so he doesn't get supply blocked here. But it's going to be a bit of a chaotic situation. And Probe just wants to make sure he doesn't lose the Adept.
Yeah, these Lings are slow Lings at the moment. As Metabolic Boost is just halfway done. And the Adept has pre-shaded here, so she's just trying to take some Lings down, not get surrounded. Good micro from Probe. In fact, cancels the shade, wants to engage the Lings directly. Couple more coming in for that gold hatchery, so she's going to have to shade again. I think that Adept's dead, yeah. So MeomaikA gets that Adept, which definitely sucks for Probe, because now he's a little bit in the dark, but he does close that door with that second gateway. Does have the Adept plugging the hole, and a Void Ray is a third of the way done. Lair again, really quickly from MeomaikA. Is this Hydra's again from Meo?
Yeah, it might be. Could be Spire, could be Nidus. Lots of different options here. Meo missed an Overlord early, though, and he already had to build so many Zerglings. So, I mean, look at it. The shield battery there. He's just going to build a gateway just to be certain as well that he's completely safe, and Oracle's on the way. So, taking no chances is Probe, but you could argue that's an overcommitment. Look at the work account. Yeah.
And Meo, I mean, he was already supply blocked, like you mentioned. Extra Overlords did pop out, but lost one there, so the cap has been cut into. And Probe is taking over the work account of the Zerg. He's just committed a little bit too much to units. And now Meo, once again, just like Game 1, in fact, even more so than Game 1, committed quite a few resources to try and get an early lead, and just met the wall of Probe. Did not find any value.
You know, he'd be fine if he just drones, because the gold base is such a boost. Even though it wasn't a great start for him, the gold base is huge, but he's building so many more Zerglings. He's just built 6 more. and he's making burrow cancels it, starts the Hydra, and 8 more Zerglings again. So I'm not sure. I think he really... Okay, so I think his plan here is to catch the 3rd base of Probe, going down and cancel it. But for now, Probe has just gone 4 gases, 2nd Stargate on the way, continuing Void Ray production. He's catching Overlords all around the map. And Meo's committed to a lot of Zerglings, but the Oracle seems to be stationed there. I don't know if he can get a cancel.
I'm not sure either. I mean, that Nexus is pretty low on hit points, but these 2 Adepts here, especially with that SimCity with the Pylon. Oracle to assist as well. An Oracle is
bad
one shot,
trade
by the way.
for Meo.
Yeah,
he damages an Adept here and loses about 20 Zerglings, and this was already such a commitment. That's so many drones that he didn't build. 1 Adept kill for 20 plus Zerglings, Maynard, and he's just building more. He's not doing anything else. I don't think this is going well for Meo, and you know, I really thought he'd get in there and disrupt his opponents, but in this scenario, I mean, he's just too far behind the curve at this point for just a straight up attack to work. I don't really see that happening, especially with the Oracle seeing the Hydra Den.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough situation for MeomaikA, to say the least. I mean, it's kind of superfluous to say, but this is one of those situations where MeomaikA, again, just beats his head against the wall of Probe, finds very little value, super overcommitted with the Lings there, made a bad call on that commitment at the 3rd Nexus. Now that Nexus has a lot more hit points, Probe's got that Gateway production off cooldown, he's got multiple Void Rays now, and again, all he needs to do is spread those pylons between the natural and the 3rd, get more shield batteries down, and this fast Hydra attack. I mean, yes, he gets the Oracle, he got it in game 1 as well, but I don't think Meo wins the game here or does critical damage to Probe with this setup.
I'd love to see how many Zerglings have gone down this game. I think it's about 45 so far. It's like a pretty crazy
33.
number for very little. I mean, thankfully he got an Oracle snipe, but yeah, he's going to break these rocks. But okay, we've got Groove Spines, a few more Hydras and Zerglings on the way. The Robo starting up here for Probe. Probe's going to have to defend with mostly Cannon Battery this time around. He's not going to have the Disruptors for a long time. But I don't think he needs them just yet. That's 5 Hydralisks on his side of the map. His Void Rays alone can handle that.
Yeah, well, there's about to be 9, about to be 10. There's a bunch more Hydras on the way here for Meo. They do have Muscular Augments, so they can rally across the map quite fast. But again, like, the Pro picked this map. He knows that Meo is going to go for something like this. He's already got cannons here, shield batteries, and sentries just in case. I feel like there's 3 layers to the defense here of Probe, and Meo is lucky if he breaks 1.
Now he goes back to droning, but once again, this is the similar to the last game, to build this much army and not find value out of it. Ooh, I mean, that's bad normally against Protoss. But if a Protoss is building Void Rays, a unit which complements just about every late game army exceptionally well, it's even worse. You absolutely need more than this. Meo does accidentally start that 2nd layer again, so it's looking like, and a 3rd layer as well, Maynard. So it looks like a hotkey conflict that you kind of picked up on earlier in that previous game, and he seems to be just kind of hitting it in panic. He's going to go into the Hydras now, but not going to find anything at all. And
yeah,
Void Ray is just looking solid. This is so far all Probe.
Yeah, this is a tough game to cast, unfortunately, for MeomaikA. Like, I know that he's a really, really good player, but he is just having a very rough time here in this series against Probe, and I feel like Game 2 is going worse than Game 1, which we know ended up going to a Probe victory in the end. It ain't over, though, until the big Infestor sings, I suppose. Trying to think of what is Zerg unit's a little bit more rotund. The Ultralisk, I guess, but you know, tier 3 for MeomaikA. We're going to see a lot more Hydras here. And again, like, as Probe goes further and further down the tech tree, he gets more and more disruptors. MeomaikA's army becomes more and more useless.
Meo's nervous. He's shaking his head. He realizes he's just not finding a way in here. Oh, a huge disruptor shot does get him. He just started his 4th accidental layer of the series, and this is just
GG.
No way in.
Yeah, I mean, a pretty easy 2-0 there for Probe. Gives us a little bit of a